In this demo segment, we will be demonstrating C3DNA's one-click deployment via blueprints and policy-driven application management across hybrid clouds. To do this, we will use a sample application known as the JPET Store demo. This is a widely known existing application to the Java enterprise community. It's a two-tier application with a Tomcat and a MySQL piece. It's a sample e-commerce application that demonstrates DB-based session management as well. We will be deploying this application onto a cluster managed by the C3DNA platform. Actually, the C3DNA platform will be managing 3 clusters, 2 of them in the Cisco Intercloud, each with 2 hosts or resources, and another one in the AWS cluster with 2 hosts. In step 1, we will deploy an application using a blueprint that captures both the functional and non-functional requirements and deploy it via the C3DNA command line onto the C3DNA platform, which will then deploy it onto the Cisco cluster 1 with the web tier on one server and the database tier on another. In step 2, we will demonstrate a hybrid scale-out scenario where one of the components of this application is scaled out to an AWS resource in the AWS cluster based on an application event. In step 3, we will demonstrate a cross-cluster application HA. When one of the servers in cluster A or cluster 1 dies, that process or application component will be automatically migrated to the AWS cluster. Okay, let's begin the demo. Let's start by logging into the C3DNA Cloud Console. The first thing you see once you log into the console is the C3DNA platform cluster. So you can see that here C3DNA platform is managing the 3 clusters we described in the introduction. There are 2 Cisco Intercloud clusters with 2 servers each and 1 in AWS with 2 servers as well. You can click on any one of the resources to see what the information about those that particular host is, IP address and other information. Likewise for the Cisco resource as well. The way we're able to draw this graph here is because we have an agent that is installed in each of the resources or gets installed in each of the resources that are managed as part of the C3DNA platform. And they report back to us all the compute, storage, network parameters that allow us to build an IP address table, resource list, with a list of their capabilities. And this is what we use when we know from the blueprint what the application requires so that we can identify the exact resource to go and deploy that application in. Now, the next step is we were going to show how to deploy an application into the platform. To do this, we need some resources or services populated into the service catalog. So we're going to do that via the command line. Here's my command, my terminal. I have some commands that I'm going to cut and paste into this window. So the first one is a command that's going to load the JPET Store WAR file. And I'm going to send that to the service catalog. So this takes a little bit because it's a big file, so we'll wait. All right, you can see that this completed successfully and the service, it appeared in the service catalog. The next thing we're going to upload to the service catalog is the MySQL schema in a zip file. So we shall launch that. The errors here are no problem. That's just simple log messages. We can see that completed as well. And now the next thing we're going to do is upload the blueprint. Before I do that, I'd like to show you the blueprint. You can see that this is a JSON formatted blueprint which lists the application name and the various characteristics that the functional and non-functional characteristics required to run it. So here's the database. The database, here's the logical name for the database, and we have policies associated for each of these applications. So we have a policy to scale this web app if the number of active sessions is greater than 2, and we have a policy that will migrate the database if there is a performance fault. So that is the blueprint that we will be deploying. Let me go ahead and get the command that will upload the blueprint file to our service catalog. All right, so this will be submitted now, and that also acknowledged OK. So it should show up in our service catalog behind us, so you can see that we have the blueprint JSON as well. Now we'll go ahead and deploy this application, or we will deploy the blueprint and launch the application. We can do that from the command line as well. So here's again a C3DNA command line. We're going to deploy the blueprint JSON file that we just uploaded and ask the system to launch the application. Let's go and see look at the Cloud Console to see how this application is being deployed. Okay, that completed. You can see that in the background it completed with an acknowledgement, and you can see that the application is now deployed on the on our cluster. So let's now go and look at the application in the browser. Okay, you can see that this application has been deployed and is available now. So we can go in and let's actually try to sign in. Let's actually put something into the catalog or the shopping cart. Going to get a golden retriever, add that, save my account, confirm this. So what you've seen so far is a simple deployment, one-click deployment of the application with the using blueprints using within the C3DNA platform. The next thing we're going to show you is how we can actually trigger a scale out policy and have one of these components scaled out to another cloud instance. To do that, we should remember that the policy that we had written in the JSON blueprint file was that we would scale out when we had the number of active connections hit greater than 2. So I need to go ahead and create a couple more sessions. I'm going to do that in a couple of other browsers that I have open on my other screen, and then come back. All right, I went ahead and got a couple of instances launched of the JPEG store, launched on a couple other browsers, and as you can see, the policy triggered and a new instance of Tomcat appeared in the AWS cloud. So this was in response to the scaling policy that we had set up in the JSON blueprint. So we can go and look at the particular IP address that this is now scaled out to. And just to show you that we actually were able to scale out properly, I'm just going to put in the IP address of the scaled out Tomcat version. And you can see that the application is actually running there. And we will enter the store and try to see if we can access the shopping cart. So there you have it. We have the application running and with your shopping cart data preserved. So that basically shows that we were able to use the C3DNA platform to launch with a single click via blueprints the application, and then scale the application via policy triggered that we defined within the blueprint. The next part of this, in the next part of this demo, I'd like to show you how we're able to handle faults. So we would like to kill one of the server instances here and see if we can have the C3DNA platform migrate whatever was running on that particular platform or the application components from that platform to another cluster. To do this, I will have to go into a jump host and actually kill the server itself, or the VM that's hosting this particular application. So that's just going to take me a second. I'm going to go do that, and it takes a minute or so for the server actually to die, but we'll be monitoring that within this application console. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back now. I just went to the jump host and killed this server. So what we will now wait for is to see this server's demise being reflected in this console, and the application process that was running in that server to be migrated to another cluster. Okay, you just saw the migration, or at least the demise of the server here, and now the application process that was running in that particular server has been instantly migrated over to the AWS cloud thanks to the HA migration policy that we had instituted. So we can now grab the IP address of this server, and just to show that we actually migrated there, we can go to that server instance and run the JPET store demo there. There you go. So there we go. So we saw the migration of the application component. So with that, basically we have seen in this demo one-click deployment of the application using blueprints, as well as a scaling and HA migration using the policies that we had predefined within the blueprint. This concludes this demo.